Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran, and Shadowlands is looking like a very exciting expansion with so many different class updates happening. It becomes a lot harder and harder as weeks go on for us to make a decision which character do we want to main. I know that Shadowlands is being installed as an expansion that's going to be very alt friendly, but for many of us, having a dedicated main is important. Having a character or a class that is dedicated for all the types of content that you want to sink your teeth in Shadowlands is something that a lot of people strive to figure out. And with so many different choices, it can sometimes become harder to pick and choose which ones you really want to commit on, which ones you want to gear the most, which ones you want to put the most time into to get the most out of. In this video, I said to put 5 classes that are narrowed down that if I did not choose to main rogue in Shadowlands, these are the classes that I would play, in case you guys are having a hard time figuring out and maybe your tastes align with me. So let's get into the video. The first class on the list is obviously going to be a Death Knight. Everybody says Shadowlands seems like a Death Knight expansion, but just because we are going to the afterlife does not mean Death Knight is by default, by developers, is going to be all of a sudden amazing. However, I gotta say that I love playing melee, and Death Knight does a couple different things as a class for me from a melee perspective. First of all, the return of the two-hand Frost is very much hype. I'm not someone who subscribed to the one-hand Frost DK playstyle where you breathe at enemies all day. So the fact that Blizzard gave us an opportunity to play two-hand Frost in the upcoming expansion is super exciting. And boy does it feel good, as the damage return for the Obliterate as your primary source of damage has not only been nostalgic, but also it feels good to pick it back up from the days where Blizzard left it off at. Besides Frost, Unholy also offers a very interesting and enjoyable mechanical playstyle. While with Frost, I feel like I'm sometimes rolling my head on the keyboard, fishing for the massive Obliterate crits. With Unholy, I feel like I have to sit back and really observe the situation, observe the trash pack I'm currently on and the next trash pack, and plan my abilities around in order to maximize my damage, which gives me a little bit more of a tactician feel as you are commanding mindless undead to your whim. With the anti-magic zone coming back to Death Knights, I feel like their reputation and placement in raids might improve. And of course, there's Blood Death Knight, which as a non-tank main, I figured out that I actually don't hate any of the tank specs. So a Blood DK would definitely be something I could get into if, let's say, my guildies need a tank to run some 15s. The next class on this list is gonna be a Druid. First of all, Boomkins in Shadowlands, at least at the very beginning, kind of disappointed me. I wasn't really sure where Blizzard was going to go with the whole Eclipse system. Since then, Blizzard has been hard at work trying to adjust the Druids, and I feel like the Eclipse system, compared to the start, is an improvement. I like to see where Boomkins are going to go next, and so far the Blizzard's work on them does make me want to explore Boomkins more. Makes me want to learn the rotation and try to figure it out, as in dungeons I'm just going in kind of trying to feel it for myself, but it's a spec that I feel has potential, so it'll be something that I could totally get into. Of course, there'll be a Feral Druid, and if for whatever reason I gave up on my Rogue, the Feral would feel quite familiar to that of Rogue. Combo points, energy, I mean, what else do you need? Plus, Feral, in my eyes, has always felt like what I wanted Assassination Rogues to really be all about: mad bleeds. And while I wanted for Blizzard to give Assassination even more bleeds and have a bleed-focused playstyle to some extent, I feel like the Feral Druid has that in droves with so many a variety of bleeds and so many ways to apply bleeds to multiple enemies. That combined with legendaries that can actually play with your bleeds, I think it was going to be a very fun to experience the bleed-heavy, dot-heavy playstyle and what you might be able to accomplish with this spec in particular in Shadowlands. I also can't really say anything bad about Restoration or Guardian Druid. Both of them feel like fun to play. While I'm not a healer main or a Guardian Druid tank main by any measure, none of the specs and playstyles feel terrible and something I wouldn't want to explore. I actually started as my very first character as a Druid, and at some point I used to raid heal, so I think it'd be interesting to see how Rest Druid raid healing is now, a couple expansions since Cataclysm. What I also like about Druid is how there's 4 specs, 4 different playstyles for you to explore, and I feel if I were to not main a Rogue and find myself a new main, Druid will probably be the best choice because there's so much opportunity for me to spend exorbitant amount of time trying to perfect all these playstyles. Next class on the list is going to be a Hunter, and I feel like the Hunter is the old reliable that just about everybody should play at some point of any expansion. Hunters, in my experience, have always made really good ults, just something that you can maybe get away from your main, something maybe easier like Beastmaster Hunter or Marksman, just to pew pew at enemies at range. Maybe go into some battlegrounds and look at the game from a different perspective compared to your main character who always has to look at a boss's big toe as you're stabbing at it for a whole 5 minutes at a time in a fight. And I don't care what anybody says, I found Survival Hunter playstyle, the melee/range type of deal, a very enjoyable playstyle. I know they haven't got a lot of updates, but I've been playing it quite a bit on Shadowlands. I even chose it as a character I would level on the side to test out the alt leveling system, and I gotta say, it's just such a unique playstyle, and I know not a lot of people are gonna get into it, so it'd be a perfect opportunity to play a real underdog. We also got some great updates for Marksman, which I'm fairly happy with. I like how it seems to be the Blizzard is at least trying to give you more choices between talents that you can run, which is always good news. And Hunter in general is a very mobile class, so if for whatever reason I did drop my Rogue for any reason whatsoever, that would be something that I would miss from Rogue, is that mobility. And the Hunter would allow me not only to have mobility in dungeons, in raids, or in PvP, but simply exploring the world. It would feel like my pace didn't slow down at all, and I'd be doing something I'm familiar with. Fourth class on the list has to be the good old Warrior. Honestly, I love the utility and the toolkit that warriors are getting in Shadowlands. Between the legendaries, between the different pieces of conduits, as well as the abilities themselves, it's totally possible as a warrior to get yourself and ignore pain in order to survive fights. Maybe going for an AoE spell reflect for your allies with the help of a Lego. Going to intervene the next hit that would otherwise kill the tank or kill the healer. Overall, you finally, I feel like in this expansion with some of the defenses I've gotten, especially for PvP, the look and feel finally like the juggernaut I wanted them to be. You also got the very exciting single-minded Fury change for the Fury Warrior. So that's going to be a lot of opportunity for you to test out different weapons, two-handers as well as one-handers between the two specs of arms as well as Fury. You also have Protection Warrior, which seems like an underdog tank. I'm hoping that Blizzard does keep adding them more buffs in order to be competitive with other tanks. But from anybody they ask in Shadowlands, I've been told that Prot Warrior is not looking good. You're not going to want to get a Prot Warrior. Even though my group tends to run with Prot Warriors and we seem to do just fine, everybody else says they're terrible. So as me who started playing World of Warcraft, playing Outlaw in PvP because it just wasn't a competitive spec, or at least I didn't see it as a competitive spec at the time, playing an underdog, there's something about it, about playing a unique playstyle that a lot of people might think is not that good, and just trying to prove them wrong best I can. Finally, the last class on the list would have to be the Warlock. I've been spending quite a bit of time on my Warlock on the beta, especially in my free time as the one caster where I could actually enjoy all three specs. Affliction is quite amazing in terms of the changes Blizzard has done for it, and they've been very enjoyable. I feel like it's an upgrade from what BFA has done for Affliction so far. No offense if you enjoyed Affliction in BFA. But I also like the demonology changes. Even though they're not massive, I think they're pretty exciting that Blizzard does want to promote more of this zoo, summon a billion imps and billion pets playstyle without having to sacrifice them completely, which opens up more talents for you to interplay with that ability. I also grown to really love curses. I know, it's just like global cooldown where you don't do damage just to curse an enemy, reducing the auto attack speed by 20% or reducing cast time by 30%. But it's really cool. I think it's awesome because normally in World of Warcraft you don't have a lot of classes that are focused on debuffing the enemy. Usually you might bring a debuff like a Demon Hunter as you just hit the enemy for free, or a Monk, same deal. But with Warlock, it is really cool to provide something more than just damage that'll be useful to groups. Plus, you know, cookies and Warlock gates. I think it'll be very exciting. But also, taking a look at some of the other specs in the class, not a single one of these specs that I really wouldn't want to explore on. Demonology with the Army of Imps, the Affliction with the Warlock Dots and Malefic Rapture interplay. And of course there's Destruction with a couple builds that are available right now. You have the Infernals build where you summon 1 billion of those rock boys. But also the Fire Destro build, which I think could be really exciting to explore, especially with some endgame gear from Shadowlands whenever that happens. But overall, the Warlock as a class is something that if I were to abandon my Rogue, would definitely be one of the classes highly considered, at least out of all the different classes we have to choose from in Shadowlands. So if you guys were struggling to figure out which class you want to play for Shadowlands, well, hopefully this video was able to help you out even a little bit. I was trying to pick any of the classes that I found enjoyable. Now, I'm not leaving my rogue by any measure. I just want to make a video of if I were to, in a hypothetical situation, abandon my rogue. Maybe the playstyle is not the same. Maybe Blizzard changes Outlaw and it just maybe something about subtlety and assassination that I really can't relate to. If I were to completely abandon my main that I've been playing since almost the beginning of World of Warcraft, because I did start out as a druid at some point, how would I approach some of these classes and how would I look at the different changes that Blizzard has done in order to find something that will perfectly fit me? It is probably a good idea to remember that we are still in Shadowlands beta, and there's probably going to be more class changes to come, especially with so many changes that Blizzard can do to the Covenant system and the different Covenant abilities all these classes might receive. So there's a good possibility this list can completely change by the time Shadowlands comes out. But if you were to take a snapshot of how the game plays right now, these definitely would be the classes I would consider if I were to, for some reason or another, abandon my rogue. So thank you guys so much for checking this video. Let me know your thoughts. If you guys were having trouble trying to decide on a class, did any of my reasons in this video convince you to maybe look at those classes or maybe put them into your consideration? And I know it seems like you're running out of time trying to decide which class you want to play, but remember you still have the pre-patch to explore all the different class changes. In fact, you can start taking a look at pre-patch on PTR if you are very much interested in how classes are going to play. And there is definitely going to be some change when they are going to be in pre-patch compared to once you're max level in Shadowlands without all those essences, traits, or none of that. But hopefully you guys find yourself a class and a playstyle that you will enjoy for Shadowlands. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts. I'll see all of you in another one.